You are listening to the Evolve Your Intimacy podcast with Dr. Stephanie, where it is my goal to educate, enlighten, and evolve your intimacy. You can find me at evolveyourintimacy.com to learn more about counseling, self-study courses, sex, and the retreats that we have to offer. This show contains discussions about relationships, intimacy, and sex, and is meant for those who are 18 years and older. Now, sit back, relax, listen up, and get ready to evolve your intimacy. For those of you who don't know, I have the privilege of being the sex therapist, the certified sex therapist for ASN Underground with Sam Mack. And I got to go to California a couple of weeks ago and record some of my segments for the show. I will be in every episode. There will be a little sex fact inserted in, and you'll see me in every episode. Make sure you're tuning in because I'm so excited. But while I was there, I got to meet some really amazing people. And one of the individuals that was on the show that you'll get to see on ASN Underground, his name was Jack Polo. And Jack Polo created something that I'm very excited to introduce to you. So he pretty much developed a game to help facilitate sexual communication. And he says that the mission is to provide the very best in adult gaming and novelty while simultaneously building better communication skills within an intimate adult relationship or environment. He says he prides himself in being the guide to the pursuit of sexual pleasure. Okay. So he does have a flagship product. It's called X Playground. And he says that it's, quote, the best adult sex game ever and was created for the naughty adult playground where you set the environment and you get to take it wherever you want to take it. He describes the game as a holistic tool designed to help couples with those unfulfilled moments waiting to be unleashed. Okay, by providing the most exciting fantasies in order to reach the highest level of climax while bridging the gap in communication, building trust, and creating stronger bonds in any adult relationship free of judgment and awkwardness. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't wait to tell you more about Jack Polo and X Playground, but first, let's hear a quick word from our sponsors and then we'll get right back. Are you interested in learning more about the topics that we discuss on the show? Head over to ASN Lifestyle Magazine, where you can read all the articles that I publish about relationships, intimacy, and sex. When it comes to the lifestyle and the adult industry magazines, look no further than ASN Lifestyle Magazine. They are the natural go-to for everything lifestyle and adult content. Get your free digital issue today at asnlifestylemagazine.com. And if you have any questions, don't ever hesitate to ask Stephanie. Thanks for joining us. This is Stephanie, and I am the host of the Evolve Your Intimacy podcast with Dr. Stephanie. And I am so excited. Before our break, I was telling you a little bit about Jack Polo, but I'm excited to tell you so much more about Jack Polo and X Playground. Jack, thank you and welcome to the show. Jack Polo, Mr. X, you are the brainchild behind X Playground. Tell me, what is X Playground and who is Jack Polo?
Okay, X Playground is a brand that I conceptualized with the thoughts of creating the world's best sex game. That was my initial intent in creating the game. And like with most creative things, you start with one path and then you broaden your horizons as you create, and next thing you know, it takes a life of its own. And that's exactly what happened with X Playground. When I set out to create Pandora's box, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I wanted to create the ultimate playground. And that came from extensive research in purchasing, sex games and playing them with my significant other at the time. And it just wasn't working out. These games were not, up to par. Not to my standards anyway, or even her standards. And so what happened is, I set out to do it, and 5 years later, I conceptualized what the board would look like. I kept developing the game, and I started developing the cards and the cards was a whole spiel, because it took a very long time to develop the cards because of the fact that, me being a male and having my way of speaking and my ideologies, I was putting those thoughts on my cards, mm-hmm. but they were a biased perspective, a biased way of communicating. And I wanted to make it more friendly for all walks of life, especially for women. I didn't want to offend anyone. I wanted to make it so that it was fun. It was lighthearted, but yet it would give you the permission to explore without being judged or criticized. And that was the whole intent of creating these cards, right? And so I had them edited, I say close to 20 different times by different women, because and also by people who weren't straight, gay people and stuff like that. I wanted everyone to tap in. I started holding these focus groups, and I would invite people over and have like drinks and snacks, hors d'oeuvres, and then I would roll into a PowerPoint presentation,
I love
and
it.
just pull out XXX Playground. They're like, "What is this? Oh my God!" And they're like clapping, and then I tell them, and then I pull out the prototype, I'd unveil it, and the wow factor was avant-garde. It was just so crazy because people would literally want to buy that prototype. I've been offered up to $100,000 for the prototype. I've been offered investments on the spot for the game without even knowing or having a marketing plan at that time. So collectively, what it took to develop the flagship product, XXX Play, it took about 16 and a half years to create the game from conception to fruition. And then I was working on developing the marketing strategy and the marketing plan. And in doing so, I needed to eliminate my competitive threat. So first I had to identify with, the space that I would be filling in this gamut called the adult entertainment industry. And I realized that, the gaming sector of the novelty within novelty stores, adult novelty stores, was only 3%. And so I said, okay, how do I maximize and take over that? First of all, when I went to manufacturing, I made sure that I used superior quality as far as materials are concerned to make a superior looking and aesthetic game.
Yes, and it's very sturdy.
Yes, and then I also went and listed the benefit factors from playing the game, which then, kind of solidified that it is in fact a communication tool, a holistic tool, if you will. The terminology holistic tools is so loosely used nowadays. Somebody wants to sell a vibrator or a dildo, they're like, it's a holistic tool, but they don't go into explaining how so. So I went that step further, and I did that, and I explained how the game itself can help couples. And there are other benefit factors that I don't list just because I don't want to deal, with the people who, want to play devil's advocate and I don't want to deal with all of that riffraff,
Sure.
So there's certain things that I won't say, but I will say on the air that, by owning this game, you don't have to really consider infidelity anymore. It's a joint effort. It's a communication tool that really bridges the gap in communication. And it really takes your sexuality to new heights. It rekindles the flames that may have been, lost in the process of being together for a long term. There's no awkwardness because you set the environment and we take it there. There's no judgment, no criticism. You build stronger bonds. You learn to express your fantasies, your desires, your likes and your dislikes without feeling compromised. So these factors, these benefit factors in playing this game and owning this game are life-changing, because I dare say it lessens the divorce rate. I mean, a lot of people that have been together for a long time and they feel like, okay, we're at the end of our rope. It's over. But they don't communicate effectively, especially with technology today. People are so turning into robots. They're so cloned into their phones. They don't put the effort forward to really make things work.
So that's
just one scenario.
Yeah, this is where you and I started hitting it off and really talking in California when we met, was because you were saying exactly what you just said there. This is a communication tool. And I argued, because that's what I do. And I said, Well, the couple has to be at a point to where they're even wanting to be sexual. So a lot of the times the couples that I get a chance to work with, by the time they come to me, I'm their last resort. So a game, I have to prepare them to where they can even get to that sexual communication because they've stopped life communication. And I love how your game is a sexual communication tool. It helps enhance sexual communication. But I do want to preface that with, you have to be to that point first. You can't just show up and expect a game or anything, therapy or anything, to fix your relationship if you're not willing to put in the time and effort to learn new communication skills.
Right.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you. And the fact that you just said that puts things in their proper perspective for me and shows me at what point, my communication tool can be effective for couples that are at that point.
Sure.
It's also, there's a multi-purpose for the game. It's the perfect icebreaker.
It's fun.
In a group setting. It's a lot of fun, especially, with the lifestyle, very open-minded people who are very much consenting adults, which that's a big movement that I'm starting right now. No means no, and consenting adults are sexy. So I'm doing this entire movement with the apparel because I'm always pushing the envelope of excellence, independence, strength, being bold, being daring, being a trendsetter, being a leader, respecting yourself, setting healthy boundaries. These type of things are super important. Integrity, uncompromisable. These are the things that, I live by. And so naturally the products that I create are going to reflect that. And XXX Playground is the first of many communication tools that I have developed for adults. I have another product that I don't want to talk too much about, but I will say, which is a love language game.
Okay.
So that would be ideal. They would go hand in hand in this scenario that you just brought up. So say you have a client, clients rather, who are at a point where they just can't communicate effectively. And like you said, sex is off the table. They're completely celibate at this point because, or maybe they are not, but with each other they are.
Yeah, it's a sexless marriage or relationship.
Right. But if you introduce a communication tool by way of love language, you can actually teach people to learn their partner's love language, learn their own love languages, and then in that sense, really bridge that gap in communication, which will rekindle passion, desire, even lust, and then at that point you can introduce the XXX Playground game and say, hey, there's progress in you, but now check this out, play this, and you'll really bridge that gap, because you can see from, just being a therapist and learning the ins and outs of what they've been through, their stories, because they're all unique, right? You will learn and know how to adapt these communication tools for your customers and give them do them a justice, a big justice in helping them to, take their lives to a healthier, to reach their desired outcomes and really take their lives to a healthier plateau. Well, I like
that you said the love language. I actually created and I teach a course called Lust Languages, Learning Your Partner's Lust Language. And I use lust languages, and then I also use what's called the erotic blueprint, to where you're learning yourself, your partner, and then it goes right along with the love languages, but it's just a really intimate, erotic perspective of the love languages. So that's definitely an avenue that I use with couples once they get to the point to where they're ready to start.
That is so amazing. It brings a smile to me to know that, I'm nailing it. I'm hitting it out the park right here. Because I respect you and all your accolades. They're not easy to achieve. It takes a person who is really devoted and is passionate about helping others to really go into your field. And so here you are. You're a leader in this field and you're saying these things, and I'm creating these products that I'm like, okay, I don't have a degree in this stuff, but I am completely engulfed in reaching and helping people reach the pursuit of happiness within their life. It's not just sex. It's not about sex to me.
It's about the
I created
pleasure.
a game by way of sensuality, if you will.
Yeah.
But it's so much more than that. And Triple X Playground, the brand, is so much more than that. I wanted to come in and I wanted to use a name, that I thought would be a stigma immediately. The minute you see Triple X Playground, your mind goes crazy. You think, what is this, a porn company? What are they doing? They had, you think all these things, adult, exotic, erotic, taboo, whatever, but it opens your mind. It makes you curious. And then when you find out how deep it really goes, I think it's rewarding for me as a creator to really spin it on people and say, hey, labels, that's just what they are.
Yep.
The standards that society sets is what makes you pass judgment on them. But in all reality, what does Triple X Playground mean? It just means a playground on steroids.
Sure.
Like a super enhanced playground. It doesn't mean that it's porn or anything like that. I'm not a porn star.
Yeah.
I'm an average man. Honestly, I'm just a very confident man who is driven and is relentless in his pursuit to reach and create tools to help people reach, giving them a safe haven to bask within their sensuality, within their communication, and reach that point, that the pursuit of happiness. That's what I want to give people. I want to give people smiles, make them happy, and say, hey, he helped us.
Sure.
He helped us with our life,
Mm-hmm.
So that's what Triple X Playground is.
Well,
now, there was another question you had for me, but I don't want to talk too much with it because you wanted to ask who I was. And
I do want to hear everything about you, but before we do that, we have to take a quick commercial break to hear from our sponsors, and we will be right back. Are you in an ethical non-monogamous relationship and enjoy giving oral sex? When you go and get a comprehensive STD test, when you go to your doctor and receive a comprehensive STD test, do you get your throat swabbed? Did you know that you can get gonorrhea and chlamydia in your throat? And those bacterial infections can spread quickly and are often asymptomatic when in the throat. I am excited to partner with Shameless Care, a lifestyle healthcare company that understands our specific needs. They understand how people connect and play and can get you with doctors who understand as well. There are no telehealth companies that allow for inexpensive throat swab tests for gonorrhea and chlamydia, even though most people in our lifestyle don't use protection when we have and give oral sex. Shameless Care offers all testing that is relevant to our lifestyle when you need it and at affordable prices. So go to shamelesscare.com and subscribe to receive your customized STD test directly to your door. Your test arrives in discreet packaging and comes with a prepaid label for easy return. You can receive your results by text message or by logging in to their HIPAA-compliant patient portal. Use promo code EYI at checkout to receive $30 off your first order. Subscribe today and receive your discreet test delivered directly to your door every 3 months to ensure your sexual health is always ready for those exciting lifestyle experiences. Again, go to shamelesscare.com, use the promo code EYI at checkout, and receive your $30 off your first order. Your sexual health matters, and Shameless Care understands the importance of making sure you are safe. Hey, this is Dr. Stephanie with the Evolve Your Intimacy podcast, and I am talking with Jack Polo. And right before the break, he was about to tell us who he was. And so, Jack, who are you? And tell us a little bit more.
So, do you want me to answer that?
I do. I want to know what gives you the clout to make this. Because you're not a professional, but which is not saying anything because, Bill Gates wasn't a professional when he started either. But you have such passion, and that's what draws me to you, is because you have such passion and such conviction about this, and it's a game. Yes. But it's not just a game. Yeah. You're wanting it to turn into a revolutionary movement of how couples can seek pleasure and seek happiness through sex.
through sex.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I feel like sex is a universal language.
I do. And when I say sex,
with,
I was going to rephrase that. When I say sex, I don't mean penetration. I mean intimacy,
right.
romance. It's all
Intimacy,
about that.
right.
It's all, I should have said intimacy, but yes.
I honestly feel that I've been intimate with individuals and not ever penetrated them.
Absolutely.
I've been intimate intellectually.
Yep.
Having an intellectual conversation, being on the same plateau where you're speaking about a subject matter and the both of you are aroused and, you know, the endorphins are releasing just from the thoughts of like, wow, she gets it. Wow,
Mm-hmm.
he gets it. And then you go deeper and deeper in these conversations. That is intimate.
Absolutely.
That is intimate and that is sexy. So I definitely agree with you that, you know, sex, you know, intimacy doesn't necessarily mean penetration, you know, 100%. I agree with that. But the reason why I'm so passionate about this is I went through a transition in my life, like we all do, right? As we get older, we transition into from making impulsive and irrational decisions to making more logical and, you know, well thought out strategic moves,
Mm-hmm.
right? Setting milestones to reach goals as opposed to thinking instant gratification and trying to reach a goal overnight and then crashing immediately thereafter, if you even reach it. So I've learned patience. I've learned the value in delayed gratification. I took a cognitive behavioral course for about 2 years, and I graduated and I led 400 men. I was their mentor. And I took the program serious. And the program was being labeled by others, you know, as a snitch program, this, that, but it was completely ridiculous. It has absolutely nothing to do with your integrity and what your beliefs are and what you stand on. It has to do with not knowing, you know, your Johari window, not knowing your blind spot, not knowing, you know, what's completely, excuse me if I could curse, what's completely fucked up about you.
Oh, you can absolutely
within,
curse.
and you just don't know. All right, well, if you're oblivious to the fact of what you're doing wrong, then you can only do the best version of what you can do because that's what you think is right. That's how you were brought up. The Board of Education has no curriculum. Within their curriculum, there is no cognitive thinking courses until they're elective courses in grad school. So by the time you get to grad school, you're already an adult. You already have your opinions formed. It's very hard to rewire your brain at that point. It's not impossible, but it's very hard. But if cognitive behavioral courses were instilled from kindergarten all the way through college, through high school, and then given in college, we would have smarter people. We would have people that were reaching their fullest potential because they would be making cognitive decisions and reaching their desired outcomes. And there would be so many things like depression and just people in jail and people getting murdered and all these decisions that people make that are of the moment. There's sporadic, they're shooting from the hip and they're ruining their lives. You can lessen those rates, those numbers, if you teach people how to think correctly. And so this is what I've been passionate about because I've taken stumbles in my life. I've fallen many times, and I've been incarcerated. I've been in the system, and I realized, I said, man, I have to change my life.
Sure.
I learned the value of life, the value of freedom, the value of liberty. It's all priceless. You know, the value of a woman. Oh my God. I mean, I was a womanizer. You know, I was a player, if you will. You know, I am completely the opposite man today. You know, and I'm proud of myself for that.
Well, I will say when we had dinner and I was hearing a little of your story, and then knowing, so I met you, knew about the game, didn't know anything about you. Then we went to dinner and I got to know a lot more about you and your past. And then thinking about it later, I was like, okay, so this rough, tough New Yorker who self-proclaimed womanizer, came up with a really outstanding a sexual communication tool for couples who without that educational baseline. And so it's just your talent and your raw enthusiasm is really passionate, and I'm really excited to see what comes next for you. But yeah, it was you don't fit the mold.
I really, and you know what? And that's a good thing. That shows you shouldn't judge a book by its cover.
Absolutely.
And you just never know, And I learned, I consider myself to be a very smart person. Mm-hmm. But I never want to be the smartest person in the room because I can't learn anything from that. I mean, that just makes complete sense. If I'm a know-it-all, then I'm my own roadblock. I'm my own biggest roadblock. And I can't afford to do that. Not at the tender age of 54. Okay? So
you're just getting started.
I take life. Exactly. I'm taking life completely different now. I'm looking at it from a different scope. Mm-hmm. Life is fast. It passes us by in a flash.
Yes, it does.
And I remember when I was 25 years old. I remember when I was 21 years old and I had a record deal and I was getting ready to travel the world. And I tore the whole world with Pearl Jam, and I messed everything up. I was scheduled for Lollapalooza 3 and I messed everything up. I got in trouble and I went away. Mm-hmm. And you know what? I didn't learn my lesson then because I was too young. How many times you hear that cliche saying, if I knew then what I know now? You can't possibly know then what you know now. It's not designed that way.
Yeah.
If it was designed that way, like I said before, if we were taught cognitive thinking and rational thinking, then yeah, I probably would have never went to jail. My goal was to be an architect. Mm-hmm. I wanted to be a fireman and an architect. And I was always a very brave person, even as a boy. So I wanted to be a fireman. I wanted to save lives. And then I wanted to be an architect because I used to go to Manhattan and look at the architecture, and I was in love with it. And I was like, I can do this. So I took mechanical drafting, and I was like top of my class, even in high school. And then things turned for the worse, just because of my environment and everything and my beliefs and just the time frame in which I grew up. I was in high school in the 80s. So think about that. It was pretty crazy in New York City in the 80s. But there are no excuses.
Sure.
What I know is this. I've lived a very robust life, and I've made many blunders, many mistakes. But from them, I gained a lifetime of wisdom that is, you can't buy it.
No, you cannot.
You can't go to school for this. This is like life experience. Like when you go to a job interview, they're like, okay, yeah, you have a degree in this, but what experience do you have? That's the experience that I bring to the table. My net worth is my life experience. I've been through some stuff, and I'm not proud of it. I wrote a book. The book is called Music and Mayhem. I haven't put it out yet because I'm looking for the right time. I'm very strategic in the things that I do. I can talk about the book just because of the simple fact that no one else can write this book.
Sure, it's your story.
There's no one else that can put, this is my story. These are my memoirs. People say, oh, your autobiography? I'm like, no, I would have to be dead for it to be an autobiography. It's my memoirs because I'm alive, okay. And it keeps going. So I wrote these memoirs while in prison, serving 6 years in a federal prison. And I wrote this book because I wanted to give my children a blueprint of who I am. Because I knew they didn't understand. I left them at a very tender age. And so I feel like I did them an injustice and I was very selfish. But now I live with them. Mm-hmm. And they're grown, they're adults, and they live with me. They drive me crazy, but you know what? They're my babies. And I don't believe in making up for lost time because that's a thinking error. But what I do believe in is showering my kids with love, my presence, and leading by example. Mm-hmm. I train in the gym with my son 5 days a week. I speak to my daughter. I give her pep talks as best as I can because I want them to be the best versions of themselves. And so who am I? I'm a man that's made, his share of mistakes, has learned his lessons, has paid his debt to society, and is here, and I walk the straight and narrow now, and I'm a man's man. I'm a man that if I give you my word is my bond. I don't break it. I stand on integrity. Everything I develop, whether it's a product or a service, I do it with the intent to help people. Mm-hmm. I spent the first two-thirds of my life hurting people because I was a hurt person.
Sure.
And I didn't know anything else. I just wanted to hurt everybody because I was so hurt as a child. But when I went to therapy for about 9 years, and then I took a cognitive course for 2 years, which I was mandated to, I really, really took the bull by the horns, if you will.
Absolutely.
I really engulfed myself in this, and I came out a believer. I drank the Kool-Aid. Mm-hmm. But I also, just so you know, because you're saying, how do you have all this knowledge? I've read so many books on psychology, on couples, therapy, on relationships, on the way women process, the way men process, why we don't get along, the Dr. Gray books. I've read so many different books because I'm so fascinated with the mind and the lack thereof using it correctly. So it's just something that it's a hobby of mine. So it's kind of like I have a degree, but I don't have a degree.
You have a degree from Hard Knocks. It's the degree of life.
Yeah, I have a degree of life. So that's where it comes from. So when I created the game, it was a challenge by a girlfriend. And she was like, I think you could create something way better than this. But I was also at the pinnacle of my music production in my career. So she looked at me like, man, you're a hell of a producer. If you can create songs from scratch out of thin air any time like this, and I never seen you have writer's block, you can create a better sex game than anyone we played. And I'm like, you know what? I'm up for the challenge.
Yeah.
And so what started frivolously as a challenge, and my ego played a big part in that because I wanted to prove that, many years later, many moons later, I became a humble man, and so did the product.
Yeah.
It transcended into something worth way more valuable than creating a hot sex game. It became a communication tool. And I couldn't have done that had I not learned humility, and caring.
Sure.
And gratitude and understanding that, when a woman gives you her body, she's giving you the most precious thing she has. And you need to worship that. You need to, I'm a very selfless lover. I aim to please my woman to the nth degree, no matter what it takes. That's what I do.
This is awesome, wonderful, awesome information, and I'm enjoying getting to know you a little bit more, Jack. We do have to take a quick break to hear from our sponsors, and we'll be right back after these great messages. Do you want to be on a ship with over 6,000 wild and naked friends? Drop an anchor in exotic countries? Explore all the sexiness the world has to offer? Come join me, Dr. Stephanie, on the next Bliss Cruise and allow me to personally guide you to better sex in my play shops, workshops, and private couples sessions. I invite you to come and let your wild and sexy desires become a reality on the next Bliss Cruise. To learn where we are sailing next, visit evolveyourintimacy.com/cruises. I can't wait to see you there. And we are back. This is Dr. Stephanie from the Evolve Your Intimacy podcast, and I am Dr. Stephanie, and I'm interviewing Jack Polo, who is the founder and brainchild behind XXX Playground, a game for sexual communication.
You taught me something when I was on the show. I learned something from you. We were sitting at dinner, and we were talking about doms and subs.
Oh, yeah.
And So the funniest thing is that my ex-girlfriend, who I almost married, she was like, "You're a dom," and I was like, "Am I?" She's like, "What?" I was like, "What is that?" I just came home from prison. I didn't know what the hell she was talking about. She said, "No, you're a dom," and then she started sending me GIFs and videos and from Tumblr and showing me what doms are, and I was like, "Am I really that?" I'm like, I am freaky and I am always into thinking about sex, but does that make me a dom? I don't think that makes me a dom. And little by little, I saw that she had an agenda.
Sure.
You see, her agenda was that she wanted to be a hot wife and she wanted to marry me, but for all the wrong reasons. So she was trying to get me to convert into the lifestyle, but it was done through manipulation. Sure. It wasn't done sincerely. It wasn't organic. And I never felt comfortable with it. I loved her so much. I didn't want to share her. That's just my opinion, mind you. I didn't want to do that. And she wanted that badly. and she would tell me graphically the things that she wants to do, and it would be multiple men, not another man, but multiple men and women. And I was like, wow. So it was enticing. It was mentally stimulating and overloading even, because I was like, whoa. But I'm like, she convinced me that I was a dom. And then when you and I were at dinner with the whole crew, and we're talking about doms and subs, and you were like, the sub is really the person who is always in control. The dom is just there to make sure that the sub reaches every point that she is trying to reach at, all her goals. So the sub, the dom in sense is not in control at all. He's just providing a service. He's there merely to make sure that he is selfless and gives the sub everything that she is looking for. And that made me think about my game. And it made me think about how I didn't understand that concept. Maybe I did, but I didn't know how to put it in words.
Sure.
I didn't know how to attach a definition to it. But now I do. And it helped me a lot. It helped me tremendously, because I am a dom. I am a dom. I do not like to be sub. But then again, I don't know. Am I a sub?
You can be a switch, because you can be both.
Yeah, I don't like controlling women in the bedroom at all. I like a woman who's just there to be completely devoured, but she sets the soft limits and the hard limits. So she's controlling the whole narrative, right? And I just didn't see how powerful it is to be a sub. I always thought a sub was weak until I spoke with you guys. So I'm always learning. Yeah. I don't profess to be, free of error. But what I will say is that I am devoted to the cause. I am devoted to helping people reach great levels of communication.
Same.
I'm actually, I know. I'm actually, once again, I'm not going to give the name. I'm not going to give details, but I'm also developing, which I'm almost 2/3 of the way done with it, developing games from kindergarten to 12th grade for homeschooling to teach cognitive thinking. And I have, it's so great. It's unbelievable what has been created thus far. And it's so self-rewarding. So it's a game with a workbook, and it basically is to teach children and parents.
Oh, I like that.
How to communicate more effectively, how to listen to your children when they tell you something happened. And you tell them, no, that didn't happen. No, I want to prevent, kids getting molested, getting abused in any form or fashion. I love children, and I want to help humanity. I want to help parents understand, because I think that's the effective way of doing it. You teach the parents cognitive thinking. You teach them how to listen to their children and protect them in that sense, instead of shunning them and thinking, oh, you're making things up. Shush, that didn't happen. I had a friend of mine who just killed himself less than 30 days ago because he was raped as a child, and he lived with that his entire adulthood, and his mother shunned him till his dying day. And he blamed her for it because she left him with his uncle, who was raping him every day as a child in Trinidad. And he ended up killing himself. And he actually called me the night before he did this and told me, he's like, I can't take this anymore, man. I don't want to live no more. And I said, and I gave him tough love because we know each other since the sandbox. And I said to him, don't call me with that sucker shit. Tighten up and call me back. And I hung up on him. He did call me back, but he was crying. And I was like, look, I don't understand what you're going through, but you need to make amends with this and move forward with your life, because you the reason why you can't move forward is because you're stuck in the past. And I was trying to give him the best advice I could. I didn't know how deep it was and how serious his words of what he's saying he was going to do. I didn't believe it, and he did it. The next day he was dead. And so that broke my heart, because this was like a brother to me. I've known him my entire life. And from that, I learned the lesson. I have to be more open-minded. When giving it, people call me for advice all the time. I've been that person in my community that people call. I got a phone call this morning. Someone who was running campaigns in the political sector on a very high scale, and he's head of marketing for them, is calling me for advice. And he's also putting together my No Means No campaign, and he's playing devil's advocate about it. Mm-hmm. Because he's like, you know how many times I brought a girl home and she, and then she says no? I'm like, yeah, no means no.
Yeah, you say, okay, thank you. You want to go get some coffee.
People have free will. You can change your mind.
Yeah.
You can change your mind at any time. If a woman says, I don't care if she gives you oral sex, and she starts thinking about her ex-boyfriend and says, I can't do this, no means no. It stops right there. It can be consenting to a certain point, but at that point, after that, it becomes a dead no. The power of no. So many people don't understand the power of no, but it's the pinnacle of really the thing. What you can say to somebody. No, you stand your ground.
Samantha and I did a segment on ASN Underground about this, and I gave the example of I can go to a vanilla club, the clubs that we're sending our children to, like 16, 17, 18. I go in there and I feel like I am forced to perform. I am forced to give something because, there's these expectations. Oh, if I buy you a drink, well, you're gonna do something for that drink. If you're wearing this sort of outfit and you're wanting someone to molest you, you're asking for it. And that's the mindset when we go into these places. And we were comparing it to maybe a swingers party where there's no expectations. No one's going to, fondle you. There's all these set rules and regulations. And why can't we bring that into the regular world, those rules and regulations where it's just an unstated rule of you don't do that. No means no. And consent is everything.
I'll tell you why. I know why. Because it's the agenda that they're pushing. Media and social media, all forms of media, play such a stronghold on our mental capacity because they educate us. They teach us to conform to the standard that they're visually putting in front of us. Mm-hmm. We're tangible people. We deal with what's in front of us. What we see, we believe. So whatever the media is saying is cool. Women twerking, walking around half naked. They're telling all girls to do this. This is what you should do. And like once this is a very hard topic for me to discuss because I can say something and then it could almost sound hypocritical or like I'm contradicting. I'm in the sex industry because I have a sex game. But people need to understand I'm in the communications industry by way of the sex industry. I am not in the sex industry. I don't sell sex. I sell communication. I teach people the fundamentals of communication. Now, back to what you were saying, the reason why it can't happen so easily is because people that think the way we think would have to get in those positions of power to influence the masses through the media. Yep. The media is the outlet. When you push, cognitive thinking, when you push rational thinking, when you push value, self-value, self-love, standards, healthy standards, and you stop pushing this toxicity. I don't even know if that's a word.
That is very much a word. Nope.
Sometimes I make words up.
I do too, but that is a word.
I make words up, and then people start using my words. Okay, but you know what I mean. That's what's being pushed. Mm-hmm. I look at my daughter and I see these things, and my daughter's so beautiful, and she's like so engulfed with the media, and I look at her and I'm like, I give her pep talks every day, and it's an uphill battle with her because she's an adult, and she's opinionated, but she's also my life, and I'm not going to stop because she's a reflection of me, and she's my baby. No matter how, she's 24, but she's my baby. So for me, I think like it's my job to continue to nag her about these things because at the end of the day, if I die tomorrow, who's going to have her back? I'm going to be there to pick her up when she falls on her knees. I give her free will. She can do whatever she wants. And I'm never going to pass a judgment. I'm always going to be there to pick her up. but I'm also going to be there before that to try to prevent those things and give her the best advice I can, because they think that being a thought is the way, and that's not the way. You know, think about the people who our children look up to.
Mm-hmm.
They're not leaders. They're just front men pushing the envelope. And that's not to discredit them from their talent, but it's to say that they themselves give disclaimers like, hey, I'm not a role model, so don't do what I do, but buy my records.
Sure.
You see what I mean? This is why I left the industry. You know, this is one of the main reasons why I left the industry, because I saw the envelopes that were being pushed, and I was like, that's not me. That's not who I am. Even when I wasn't awoke, I still within had that burning desire to make a difference in life.
Sure.
And so now that I am woke, I am completely engulfed and committed to it, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know if I went off the hinge with what we were talking about.
It doesn't
but I think
matter.
That
it needed to be said.
All right. Okay.
No,
I'm just trying to speak, you know, life into people, you know, positivity.
Absolutely.
You know, that's my goal. I'm already looked at, you're a man who created a sex game, you're a pervert. If a woman created the same game, she would be an empowering, independent, holy cow boss bitch. Yeah. That's what they would say. That's a boss bitch, because the ignorance is just, there is no end to it. You know, I don't even know why women want to call themselves bitches.
I agree.
I'm that bitch. I'm a real bitch. I'm the. You're a bitch. I don't even want to know you.
Yeah, I don't like when that's done.
But they don't know. You can only do the best. You know, the best you can do with what you know.
Yeah.
Right.
I know.
I spent the majority of my life resenting my parents and blaming them for so many things that I realize now, when I was putting my book together, I said, man, my parents did the best they can do
with what they had.
What they knew.
Yep.
I never realized what they went through.
Yeah. What
their parents put them through. And what their parents put their parents through. It's a vicious cycle.
It is.
Generational. That has happened, that I finally broke. So for that, I give myself kudos. I broke the generational curse.
Good.
You know, my son will never go to prison. My daughter will, my sons, both my sons and both my daughters will never go to prison. Why? Because I broke that generational curse. I've never yelled at my kids. I've never cursed at my kids. I've never put my hands on my kids. And I come from a very violent upbringing. Mm-hmm. You know, I've been a fighter my whole life. And now, negotiator. I'm a peace talker. I'm here to speak logic into circumstances. You know, mm-hmm. I was put in a predicament where I was with 5,500 men, and everybody was, no one cared.
Yeah, no one cares there.
Everybody was lost. And you know what? I faced adversity head on, verbally. Yeah, you know, I had my shank and I had this, that. If it was going to go down, it would have gone down. But I knew I could beat things by speaking sense into people. And I did. And I actually pieced out major wars in prison. I did that, you know, and no one can take that from me.
Sure.
Where people thought I was ludicrous because I would walk around with my papers and I said, this is what I'm going to do when I get out. And I was in the education building every single day, and only the child molesters hang out there because they're scared. So they would be there all day. I was there with them. You know why? I was getting my education.
Yeah.
You know, I got my education. I didn't waste 1 second of time. I went to school for 5 years.
Yep.
And I got my degrees. I got everything that I wanted to get. I wrote a book. I wrote a reality show. I wrote a business plan. I created Triple X Playground. I created X-Line. I created Trist. I created OMG. I created many brands, but they're all under the umbrella of myself, which is Match Media. I did this to create, you know, a strong force of communication tools to help humanity.
Sure.
Basically. That's really what I'm about. That's who I am. Even my book is written as a self-help book. I do not glorify the things that I've done in the past that I'm ashamed of. I don't glorify them. I lightly tread on them in the book, and really the book is a self-help book. It's a 13-chapter book, and 310 pages. I think I last said it was 278. But I mean, yeah, I haven't put it out just because if I put it out today and I don't have a degree, it's going to go wood in the hood. You know, I'm looking to really, you know, set my brand apart from everybody else and really, really become a staple in the industry. And at that point, they say, well, who is this guy? And then they can read my book.
Yeah.
And then they can see who I am. And it stands a chance to reach more people.
Sure.
It's not about money. I'm not a money-driven man. I am driven to move mountains. I really, really want to help people. You know, my end goal, like I said, is to educate parents so that they listen to their kids, so that we can prevent kids from being molested, women from being raped, men from being raped. It's not only women.
No, I absolutely agree.
Men get raped too.
They do.
You know, a gay boy goes to prison. He's food. If he acts gay in prison, he's going to get a train ran on him against his will. You see what I'm saying? So there are what they call booty bandits. Men get raped. If you're soft, if you're weak, you're looked upon like someone that, okay, I can grab him and I can rape him because he's not stronger than me. There's a lot of things going on. There's scenarios that I've talked to cam girls, you know, where they're like, you know, they have stalkers. Mm-hmm. They go to these expos and they're signing things and people are like going crazy for them. And then they're like going, you know, crossing the boundaries.
Sure.
And making them feel uncomfortable. Women have been raped, you know, porn stars have been raped, male and females. I've talked to so many people have gone through this stuff. And for me, that is just something that I don't tolerate. So, you know, this is the reason why I think my communication tools help, not just to help couples, but to help individuals.
I agree.
You know, from all walks of life.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to spend this morning with me. I know it's early there. And
that's cool.
Yeah, I would love, I mean, we're going to talk offline because we have so much more to talk about and lots of stuff. I will say that your clothing line, you did gift me an outfit and it's been all over my Instagram because I wore it home and it was the most comfortable plain attire. So now I think anytime I fly, I'm wearing XXX, my tights and my
Thank
hoodie.
you so much. And I didn't even touch on that. When I had originally designed the apparel, I designed it as swag to give away at the expos, but we were in mid-COVID, so there were no expos. So I had this swag, and then I had a very good friend of mine. He was like, listen, I want to start this thing called Celebrity Championship Boxing, and I want you to have the ring girls wearing your clothes. And I'm like, let's do it. So we started doing that. So they became the TXP Ring Girls. Mm-hmm. Now, that project fizzled away. He no longer does those boxing matches anymore. So here I was stuck with all this apparel, and people were like, we love your apparel. We love the way it fits the girls. Boom, boom, boom. It's so comfortable. It's so nice. And I think that a lot of it has to do with the design, you know, what's on it, because it's empowering. And once again, that's how it coincides with the game and the brand and as a whole. I put empowering slogans on my apparel because I want people to understand that we are trendsetters. We're leaders. We stand on all 10 toes. We're not afraid about, the criticism that's going to come, the backlash from expressing ourselves. To me, it's an empowering movement, the X-Line activewear, because I could have made it more skimpy, but then it would have been smutty. So you're saying XXX Playground. You're saying no means no. You're saying all of these things on your apparel.
Yeah.
So you're standing by what's on your shirt. And I think that makes people say, man, a lot of people will feel intimidated by that. And then a lot of people will criticize. The people that criticize is because they're not educated on the facts. And so they feel they need to say something to compensate for their confusion. But the people who actually are taken back by it are like, whoa, that's powerful. I was doubting myself, and I don't do much of that. So it was only because it was getting ready to come to market, and I said, man, if I put this to market and it doesn't resonate right, what is it going to do for my game and everything else? So when you're running a business, it's very difficult, and I am my marketing team.
Sure.
I'm my entire marketing team.
I
play every hat right now. And so it's very, very difficult, but it's not impossible. When I remember that, and I always remember that, determination, and will are best friends to success. That's how I live my life. And so I take risk. And you know what? I make educated conclusions and as best as I can, and I put it out there. Good. And if you want to criticize me, that's okay. You know what? Because I still stand by what I say. I still stand by what I believe in. Whoever wears my apparel are people who are like-minded, like yourself. Yeah. You said, I feel comfortable wearing this on the plane. I love this. You know, there are people that love wearing it at the gym as a badge of honor.
Absolutely.
It takes guts to stand in front of the narrative and say, hey, I'm here to change it. So, yeah. So that's what Triple X Playground, that's what X-Line Apparel is about. You know, that's what we stand.
That's what we stand on.
That's what we stand for.
You and I have so much more. This is just the beginning of our friendship and business relationship, because I feel like you and I have a very strong sense of passion for the same things, and finding people who are jointly passionate about common topics and common themes. So it can be hard in our lifetime. So when you find those people, you hold on.
Finding people who are willing to talk about it.
Oh yeah,
is even harder.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of victims out there, you know.
Survivors. We're not victims. We're survivors.
Yeah, survivors. Yeah, there's just so many people out there that I feel need to hear what we have to say.
I agree.
Because it will make them feel confident and empower them to step up, to speak on it, to heal, to move forward, and not be stagnant in life based on a tragedy that happened to them. You know, that was beyond their means.
It wasn't their choice. Yep.
Right. So there's a lot going on with that. And I just feel like the more and more, you know, as every day goes by, I believe that my brand becomes more important.
Oh, absolutely. I agree.
As I speak to people, I'm like, wow, I completely agree. You know, this is what we should be talking about here. Don't be ashamed. Talk up, speak up. But if we fight the current, we stand for something.
Exactly.
If we know these things, then we don't do anything, then we're not standing for anything. Having the knowledge and doing nothing about it, that doesn't make you a leader. That makes you a coward. You know? So,
it's powerful.
Maybe I'm giving some strong opinionated points here, but you know, this is who I am.
Yeah.
You can contradict me all you want. I love it. I would love it.
No, I mean, these are powerful statements that need to be said. It needs to be heard. So, but we are going to have to end this for now. And until next time, you and I will be chatting. But until I can get you on the show again, thank you again for your time. And tell everybody where they can find you.
Oh, well, you can purchase the game on www.triplexplayground.com. That's spelled out entirely. So TRIPLEXPLAYGROUND. That's triplexplayground.com. You can find me on Instagram at triple_X_playground. And you can also find me on Instagram on X-Line Activewear for the apparel. And on Twitter, we're at triplexplaygrnd. So that's awesome. Where you can find me. And then there's many more. You can go on our website and all our social media links are there. But those are the ones that usually people typically go to.
Sure.
So I give those out. Yeah.
And you can also find his information on my Instagram, evolve_your_intimacy. And because we've been tagging each other, because I was wearing all of his wonderful, or not all of it, I was wearing one of his outfits. So definitely take a look at that. A whole bunch of stuff. Yay! I wear it.
Yeah, you're going to get a whole bunch of I'm definitely going to put a care package and send it to you.
Oh, I love that.
And I look forward to the next time we speak and speaking offline for sure.
Absolutely. Well, we will talk soon.
Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to listen to my show. I am Dr. Stephanie with Evolve Your Intimacy, and remember, you are not in this alone, and we are definitely here to help. You can learn more about all the amazing things that we do at evolveyourintimacy.com, and if you subscribe to our newsletter, you will receive free resources monthly to help you evolve your intimacy. Thank you again, and have a great night.